Shut up!
Starting off part 8 is arguably the most kick-ass fossil Pokemon ever, Cabotops. Being the second and final prehistoric Pokemon on this list, Cabotops comes armed with two massive blades that would make even Scyther blush. Using these sharp tools, Cabotops rips apart its defenseless prey and sucks their precious body fluids for nourishment.
What?
Who in their right mind gave the series the ESRB rating of E for everyone? I mean, come on, that's some pretty violent action right there. But, whatevs, I can dig it. Note to self, never say that again. Being Jason Voorhees' pet horseshoe crab, Cabotops is hands down my favorite prehistoric Pokemon. Why? Well, let's sum up the reasons. First off, you know me, I love some awesome looking hands. Or, in Cabotops' case, two sickles. These two sickles are Cabotops' main hunting weapons, as you would clearly imagine. Cabotops' attack can reach a maximum of 361. Compared to other fossil Pokemon like Rampardos and Archeops, this is definitely nothing impressive. But Cabotops has something that those two don't have. Defense. Cabotops' defense can reach a maximum of 339. So it's safe to know that Cabotops has both offense and defense. Now let's talk origin. As I previously mentioned, Cabotops bears a resemblance to the horseshoe crab, an ancient arachnid that's commonly referred to as a living fossil. Not only that, but Cabotops also shares traits with Eurypterids, large sea scorpions from the Ordovician period. You just gotta love prehistory and all its fascinating secrets. Okay, now to come up with a shitty joke. Based upon its hunting behavior and its sickle-like hands, I'm surprised there hasn't been a creature feature deriving from this sort of thing. I mean, just ponder this for a brief moment. An amphibious humanoid shellfish with huge sickles for weapons that rips people apart and sucks their bodies dry. Sounds like a pretty good B-movie plot, doesn't it? I think the Sci-Fi Channel just got their next weekend premiere. Someone make this movie. None of that CG bullshit, guys in rubber suits, cast Nathan Lane, give him a lightsaber, and call it Attack of the Fossil Fiends. I would watch the shit out of that movie. At number 29, we have the creepy, mischievous, jewel-eating munchkin that we know as Sableye. This is probably something that you didn't expect to see on here. I'll just say it right now. I don't care what any of you say, I love Sableye. Why? It's the Nidoking case once again. Yes, that shit again. Thankfully, this is the last time you'll see that case. It's still hard for me to explain, but I'll try once again. Statistically, Sableye is complete shit. Sableye's base stat total is 380. Despite having a typing that makes it virtually weakness-free, Sableye is one of the crummiest Pokemon you can have in terms of battle capabilities. Not only are its stats unreliable, but even its ability is terrible. Sableye's signature ability is Stall. Stall is an ability that ensures that the Pokemon that has it will always move last, regardless of Trick Room and priority moves. Sableye is borderline unusable. But does that mean I hate him? No. What he lacks in power, he makes up for sheer creativity and charm. Whenever I look at Sableye, I can't help but think of two other lovable little shitheads. Stitch, aka Experiment 626, and Invader Zim. Sableye reminds me of these two characters for various visible reasons. Sableye reminds me of Zim for one reason, his grin. Just by looking at that face, you just know that he's always up to something no good, just like the mischievous son of a bitch that he is. He reminds me of Stitch for numerous reasons. He's small, creepy looking, and seems jittery to say the least. He also reminds me of someone else. Someone you all know of. I mean, just think about this. Sableye is small, evil, he never blinks, he's always smiling, and he has next to no weaknesses. Who else do you know of that shares those characteristics?
Hi!
Bingo! Now that I've talked about what he reminds me of, let's talk about his concept. Sableye is presumably based on the Hopkinsville Goblin. This bizarre creature has been depicted having glowing eyes, small legs, and clawed arms. Looks like Sableye fits the description just right, huh? Just like Dusknoir, Sableye has a very clever gimmick hidden on his very body. Just look at a Sableye closely and you'll see what I mean. He has sapphires for eyes, a ruby on his abdomen, and if you take a look at his shiny form, you'll see an emerald on his abdomen as well. Damn! Game Freak, you're almost as clever as Valve is. That's one hell of an achievement.
Who am I?
Okay, I know what you're all thinking right now. Mewtwo? But he was also on your overrated list. You must be in denial. First of all, that was a poorly constructed list. And second, I never, ever said that I hated Mewtwo. In fact, I clearly said that I like him. Yes, even someone as hard-headed as myself can't help but love Mewtwo. Aside from Pikachu, Mewtwo is probably the most famous Pokemon on Earth. Mewtwo's been the star of the first movie, 2 anime specials, a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and the final boss of 4 Pokemon games. I understand that this Pokemon is the pinnacle of many of your childhoods, and please understand that I would not dare try to dampen that a second time around. I know that this list isn't revolved around tiers, but Mewtwo is literally the 2nd strongest Pokemon ever, trumped only by Arceus. Fucking space goat. His special attack can reach a maximum of 447, some of the highest special attack in the entire franchise. Out of all the Pokemon in the anime, Mewtwo's role is by far the most iconic. Being that he was the star of the very first Pokemon movie, it's needless to say that he has an extremely huge and loyal fan base. Throughout the first movie, Mewtwo went through a ridiculous amount of character development. He started out as a Kafka-esque tyrant bent on the total annihilation of humankind. But by the end of the movie, he started to value the lives of both humans and the Pokemon that are loyal to them. That is powerful. I'm certain we all remember the climactic clone battle at the end and how everyone mourned over Ash's petrification. We all cried a little bit. All I have left to say is that Mewtwo is awesome, no matter how you look at him. I'm sorry, Mewtwo, I do love you. Not because you're legendary, it's because you remind us all so much of ourselves, an innocent being with tortured emotions being manipulated by other low-down humans. I completely understand why everybody loves him so much. At last, we come across the second complete evolutionary line on this list, the Oshawott line. Yes, unlike the other Unova starters, I actually like every single member of this evolution family. These 3 aquatic ninjas get my vote for the greatest Unova water types. Sorry, Seismitoad. Now, what can be said about these 3? Well, just like the Scraggy line, I'll list off what I like about each of them. First off is Oshawott. Oshawott is probably my favorite out of the 3. This little dude is the main reason I'm still watching the anime. Ash's Oshawott is just pure entertainment. He started out by spying on Ash everywhere he went.
Tell me who's watching.
Ever since he joined Ash, he's become one spastic little shit, always skittering about and making everyone feel really awkward. Every time I hear that voice of his, I get both the feeling of cuteness and laughter. Although I have to admit that he has some hormonal issues, as he has a really bad taste in his love interests. Now let's talk about Duat. By the time Oshawott evolves, he becomes more in touch with his martial arts. Through rigorous and strict training, Duat has acquired an extra skull chop and tons of more strength to go with that awesome appearance of his. Duat also has one of the coolest Japanese names of any Pokemon. His Japanese name is Futachimaru. Despite the fact that I probably mispronounced that, it's one hell of a title. Lastly, let's talk about Samurott. Being the final member in this evolutionary line, Samurott is the strongest of all, as you would expect. In terms of strength, Samurott is pretty much the same as Lucario, being a mixed attacker and having mild defenses. Samurott also has an awesome moveset. He learns moves like Mega Horn, Revenge, Dragon Tail, X-Scissor, and even Air Slash. So, it's needless to say that he's a reliable partner. I've heard many fans complain about Samurott's appearance, saying that he looks nothing like his 2 other pre-evolutions. Well, that may be so, but you can never go wrong with a sea lion based off of a samurai. That's fucking awesome. And what's a samurai without a sword? The sword that these three guys use is Razor Shell, basically a water version of Crush Claw, but there's something that kind of bugs me. Believe it or not, Razor Shell is not their signature move, because Shelter is also able to learn this move. Why? Why couldn't this be their signature move? Might be something kind of pointless, but it's just something that bothers me. In conclusion, the Oshawott line makes for an awesome evolutionary family. They're original, they have reasonable strength, and their ninja skills would even make Ryu jealous. Manectric is the kind of Pokemon that... Wait, hold up. Why isn't there any music playing? Midbis, play Manectric's music.
What?
Yes, Manectric's music. Play it. What do you mean there's no music listed? Let me look at that spreadsheet. Oh, you're right. Well, we can't go without some music, so just pick a record from the shelf. I don't care, any music will do. Yay! Now that's more like it. So anyway, Manectric is exactly the kind of Pokemon that I fell in love with the second I saw one. Considering the fact that there were only 4 electric types introduced in Gen 3, it's needless to say that Manectric is undoubtedly the greatest Gen 3 electric type. At least in terms of strength, that is. Every single time I replay Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald, I always catch a Manectric, so that I can have it as a team member. Well, let's talk statistics. Manectric's base stat total is 475, which is equivalent to that of both Raichu and Scolipede. Manectric's greatest stat is a tie between his speed and special attack, both of which can reach a maximum of 339. Although his defenses are somewhat lacking, Manectric is far from terrible. Manectric's moveset is definitely a positive feature. Despite being a mono-electric type, Manectric can learn several other types of moves, such as Ice Fang, Crunch, Signal Beam, Curse, and even Fire-type moves like Fire Fang, Flamethrower, and Overheat. That's what you call versatility. Next, let's discuss his abilities. All of his abilities can be put to great use. First, there's Static, which can sometimes cause an opponent to get paralyzed upon physical contact. Next, there's Lightning Rod. Lightning Rod draws in all electric type moves and raises the special attack of the targeted individual. Lightning Rod can also be used for something else. If a Pokemon that has Lightning Rod is given a Cell Battery, then it will also get a physical attack boost from an electric attack as well. Hooray for strategy! Lastly, I have to give mention to Manectric's concept. Manectric is based upon the Reiju, an elemental lightning creature that can take on the shape of various mammals. In Manectric's case, it's a wolf. Wow, a lightning wolf. How beastly is that? Final verdict, Manectric is my favorite Gen 3 electric type, and all around my 3rd favorite electric type ever. He may not be the absolute strongest electric type there is, but he's certainly one of the most awesome. Sticking out at number 25, we have the prickly thorn pod Pokemon, Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is unlike any grass type I've ever seen. To be completely honest here, Ferrothorn is my favorite Gen 5 grass type by a mile stretch. Why might this be? Well, let's take a look at some supporting factors. Unlike most other grass types, Ferrothorn is ridiculously defensive, both physically and specially. If you're looking for a good defensive wall, he's definitely at the top of my recommendations. Ferrothorn's base stat total is 489. It may not seem like much, but believe me, this is a Pokemon you mustn't underestimate in the slightest. Ferrothorn's defenses are the highest out of any grass type, with his physical defense reaching a maximum of 397. His special defense is also admirable, reaching a maximum of 364. Despite having terrible speed, Ferrothorn can basically wall any non-fire type Pokemon that goes against it. Armed with those amazing defenses, it's wise to set up layers of spikes to plague your opponent's battle arena while your Ferrothorn remains out. 2 other moves I would recommend are Toxic and Gyro Ball. Toxic speaks for itself, but with that sluggish base speed stat of 20, Gyro Ball is definitely a reliable offensive tactic, especially with the same type attack bonus you get from it. As you would expect from looking at this thing, Ferrothorn is a Pokemon you really don't want to give a hug to. Aside from his vine pods that resemble army flails, Ferrothorn's spiky body is a hazard all its own. His signature ability is Iron Barbs. Iron Barbs is an ability that causes harm to those who comes into physical contact with him. Just think of it as rough skin, only twice as deadly. Those unlucky enough to touch a Ferrothorn will lose 1/8 of its HP. And if you give that Ferrothorn a rocky helmet, then you can kiss your physical opponents goodbye. Combining Ferrum, Latin for iron, and a prickly bundle of thorns, Ferrothorn and its pre-evolution are the only grass steel types as of today. It may be an odd typing, but with steel properties added to this thing, it cancels out numerous weaknesses that grass types have, such as bug, poison, ice, and even flying. Although he still holds a huge weakness to fire, so it's best you be careful around those. So here's my ending statement. If you're looking for a good steel or grass type, in black and white or at all, then catch a Ferroseed. EV train it and turn it into a monster. Trust me, you will not regret having one.
I am Entei.
Leaping straight out of the ashes of the Brass Tower, we have one of the most badass Pokemon from my childhood, Entei. I just had to put one of the legendary beasts on here. I simply had to. For me, the obvious winner is the volcano-hopping beast of sheer power. I'm sure that some of you are somewhat disappointed that I didn't choose Suicune or Raikou for this spot. But please understand my reasons as to why I prefer Entei over the other two. No, it's not because he breathes fire. I've already explained that fire is not my favorite element. Electricity is. Now, if it were based on typing and the element, I'd choose Raikou. But there are various traits applied to Entei that I personally really love. Just by looking at him, you know that Entei means business. His stance shows off a very proud and sophisticated message. That's basically him telling his opponents, I'm going to defeat you with dignity. And trust me, Entei is not to be fucked around with. Entei's base stat total is 580, which is equivalent to that of the other legendary beasts. But Entei's stat arrangement is something that suits me much more. To be blunt, Entei is the most balanced of the three beasts. His attack can reach a maximum of 361, which is pretty acceptable when you consider his other stats are very well balanced. So statistically, you just can't go wrong with him. But Entei ultimately won this spot thanks to the most epic Entei of them all, the Illusion Entei from Spell of the Unknown. When I was younger, I watched the shit out of this movie, and it was all thanks to Entei. I'm not going to spoil the main plot for all of you, but I will say this. Entei kicked so much ass in this movie, it's not even funny. Entei also has one of the most epic quotes since I Have Fury and Do a Barrel Roll.
I am no illusion.
You'd have fucked with that. Entei also gets some points for teaching Mr. Ultimate Fire type what a real fire type is made of. Entei nearly kills Charizard. God damn. My final thoughts, Entei is one Pokemon that spells a lot of nostalgia for me. While he's not my all-time favorite fire type, he definitely gets my vote for the greatest mono fire type. He's strong, nostalgic, and completely epic in Spell of the Unknown. And if any Charizard fanboy tries to pull off the bullshit that their precious lizard is the strongest Pokemon ever, then I know Entei has my back on it. Oh hell yes! When it comes to normal flying types, I can think of none more awesome than the extremely predacious monster of a starling, Staraptor. Out of all the bird Pokemon, Staraptor is definitely my favorite out of all. Not Pidgeot, not Unpheasant, Staraptor. Like I said in the previous part of this top 100, normal flying types are so overdone, it's downright absurd. But I've always found Staraptor to be a special case. Whenever I replay Diamond, Pearl, or Platinum, which is very often, mind you, I always have Staraptor as my flying type. No second thoughts whatsoever. And can you blame me? Staraptor is almost as powerful as the starter Pokemon are. As a Pokemon, Staraptor is an independent bird of prey with a taste for brutality. Armed with an incredibly savage nature and a scythe-shaped comb on top its head, Staraptor will courageously challenge any foe, even if it is larger than itself. Wow, that's some extreme determination you got there. While Staraptor evolves from a pathetic little starly, he seems to share more characteristics of a falcon rather than a puny little starling. As you would expect from his appearance, Staraptor is one bird that you don't want to piss off. Being a bird of prey, Staraptor makes for a pretty damn strong flying type. Staraptor's physical attack can reach a maximum of 372, rivaling that of Luxray, Crawdaunt, Hariyama, and even Origin Form Giratina. Jeez! Staraptor is also pretty fast, with his speed stat reach a maximum of 328, which rivals that of even Salamence. His move pool should also be taken into account, as there are some interesting things to note. For the most part, Staraptor's moveset seems just like that of any old bird Pokemon. But thanks to its predacious behavior, Staraptor is the only flying type that is able to learn both Close Combat and Final Gambit, which are some truly devastating fighting type moves. These two moves, especially Close Combat, ensure that Staraptor can do some major damage to both Ice and Rock types. In conclusion, Staraptor is my favorite normal flying type, and my third favorite flying type all around. He looks awesome, he has a savage fighting spirit, and he's basically a Caterpie's worst nightmare. All around, one of my favorite Gen 4 Pokemon to date. At number 22, we have the mascot of Sapphire, which happens to be my second favorite member of the Weather Trio, Kyogre. Being Neptune's pet dolphin, Kyogre represents the very deep oceans and the overall aquatic side of the Pokemon spectrum. Similar to the case of Zekrom and Palkia, Kyogre was the reason that I chose Sapphire as my home version. Residing in deep oceanic trenches, Kyogre possesses the ability to cause tremendous downpours. Kyogre is named in mythology as the Pokemon that expanded the sea by covering the land with torrential rains and towering tidal waves. To be quite frank, Kyogre is one of the best special walls you can possibly have, because its battle capabilities are far more devastating than you can possibly imagine. Kyogre's special attack can reach a maximum of 438, the highest out of any mono water type. Not only that, but its special defense can even get as high as 416. That is just plain ridiculous. As mentioned before, Kyogre is a Pokemon that can cause massive floods in an instant. This is thanks to his signature ability, Drizzle. Drizzle causes rain to fall endlessly while on the battlefield. In the rain, Kyogre is ridiculously strong. Rain gives Kyogre a power boost when using water-type moves. Combine that with the same type attack bonus it gets, and you can be sure that no fire types are safe. Need I mention that Thunder also has 100% accuracy in the rain? Yeah, plain and simple, Kyogre is tough. Well, that's enough of its stats, let's move on to other things. First, let's talk about its origin. Just as Groudon was based off the legendary Behemoth, Kyogre is based off of the legendary Leviathan, a biblical sea monster mentioned in Hebrew mythology. That beeth an awesome concept. Let's move on to appearance. Kyogre's appearance is nothing short of cool. He looks like a combination of a Wailord and the Egghawk from Sonic Heroes. Eggman has a good taste in design templates. Then there's his pectoral markings. These markings have become a recurring design choice in the series, even more so than Groudon's markings. If you're wondering what I mean by that, then just take a look at Wes's Snag Machine, Sir Aaron's gloves, and Spencer's staff. All of them have similar markings, don't they? Well, it seems Kyogre gets a lot of respect from the developers now, doesn't he? Well, he definitely deserves it. There's no need for him to tread more water because Kyogre already has plenty. Crappy puns for the win. Bringing a closure to Part 8, we have the colossal, continent-towing master of the legendary golems, Regigigas, or as I like to call him, Regikickass. When looking at a contender for this spot, I wondered to myself, which Reggie should I choose? Then I remembered I was looking in the wrong generation. So anyway, back to Regigigas. This thing is a monster of a Pokemon. Being a legendary trio master, you would imagine that Regigigas possesses a great deal of strength. And yes, you would be correct. Having towed the continents with ropes, Regigigas makes for one of the strongest Pokemon ever, both statistically and physically. In a nutshell, Regigigas is basically a Slacking, but with less HP and much better defenses. But, similar to Slacking, Regigigas possesses a signature ability that greatly hinders it, Slow Start. Slow Start causes the Pokemon that has it to have its attack and speed for the first 5 turns. But, like Truant, Slow Start is not really that big a deal. Just use Gastro Acid, Skill Swap, or hit a Regigigas to get the Mummy ability. Or better yet, hit Regigigas with Simple Beam and have it learn Double Team or Rock Polish. So Slow Start doesn't really bother me in the slightest. In addition to its strength and legendary status, Regigigas has one of the coolest names of any Pokemon. Just say it, Regigigas. You feel kind of powerful when you say it, don't you? You know what? Screw the proteins, just teach your Pokemon how to say Regigigas and it'll have max attack in no time. Regigigas' cry is also one of my favorites as well. Man, that's awesome. Time to give some praise to its appearance. Regigigas is seriously one of the coolest looking Pokemon I've ever seen. He boasts a very robotic and powerful appearance, and the colored gems and patches of moss are a nice touch as well. Alright, let's talk about what this monster can do on the battlefield. Regigigas is a ridiculously strong physical fighter, with his attack getting as high as 460. Jeez! It's no wonder this beast towed the continents with its strength alone! Also, Regigigas is so far the only legendary that is legitimately obtainable at level 1. This makes for a lot of tedious EV training, but believe me, it's worth it. Regigigas' move pool isn't the most impressive, but he's still capable of pounding its opponents into the dust with devastating attacks, like Giga Impact, Stone Age, and Earthquake. Regigigas also has a signature move, Crush Grip. Crush Grip is basically a more powerful sounding version of Ring Out, but it still can be very powerful if the correct standards are met. All these supporting factors make Regigigas my favorite normal type by far. He may not be as balanced as Arceus, but he's definitely much cooler to me.